Welcome to Men, Menopause, and Miracles, the podcast where midlife women explore strength in all of its forms physical, emotional, and personal. This is a space for conversations about becoming, rebuilding, and redefining what it means to feel powerful in your body and your life. Here we talk about men, hormones, muscle, nourishment, beauty, and the shifts that happen when the rules you followed no longer work and you begin listening more closely to yourself instead. I'm Suzanne. I'm your host and your midlife wingwoman. I am here to walk alongside you as you navigate the changes of midlife, reconnect to your body, and choose practices that support who you are now, not who you used to be, and using your resilience, you trusting your intuition and stepping into the season with clarity, strength, and intention. This is episode 47. How good can it get in midlife? What if the most powerful thing you could do in midlife wasn't to eat less or push harder, but to build more? Today's conversation is about strength, not the kind you see in a mirror, but the kind that steadies your hormones, protects your metabolism, and changes the way you move through this season of life. We've been told menopause is a slow surrender, less energy, less strength, and less control. But today's guest is living proof that this story is outdated. Terry Tateossian lost 80 pounds in her early 40s and discovered that resistance training and proper nutrition weren't just tools for weight loss, they were the missing link for navigating perimenopause and menopause with confidence. Terry now teaches women why building muscle during and after isn't optional, it is essential. And if you've ever felt like your body stopped responding to the rules, raising my hand over here, you were taught this conversation might change how you see strength, food, and what's possible in midlife. What if menopause wasn't the beginning of your decline, but the beginning of your strength? Welcome, Terry. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Suzanne, for having me. I love your podcast topics, men, miracles, and menopause. I love it. All my
It's an
favorite subjects.
yeah, it's an interesting mix, right?
Yes, yes. Things get interesting right around that time, right? With men and miracles and menopause. You got it.
Yes, and we need some miracles during this time. Yes, we're looking for them. Well, where are you? So our listeners can get to know you a little better on the midlife meter currently, starting out, in the middle.
I am 8 years post. I became fully menopausal at 42. I'm turning 50 this year, and I couldn't be happier. I joke around all the time that this has really been, the last 8 years really have been some of the best years of my life. And partly, I think it's because of the reduction in hormones. The men part is where now this
Yes.
conversation goes into. But yeah, I'm just messing around. But yeah, I mean, before I was perimenopausal, my hormones were wow, they were just poof all over the place, right? And
Okay.
so I never really had an experience in life where I was just calm, balanced, chill. I was always on fire. Like everything was always on fire. And the more I learn now, the more people I talk to, the more experts and hormone experts that I talk to, and the more research comes out there about hormones, because it's kind of a black box when it comes to medicine these days. Not a lot of doctors are versed in female hormones. I'm finding out that most likely it was a progesterone issue that I had in my reproductive years, and now that things have kind of leveled off, I'm having a normal experience where everything is just chill.
Yeah,
So it's great.
I say with the overdrive function is no longer available in this model, meaning the multitasking. I remember when I said, is this what men feel like, where they just focus on one thing at a time? Because women are so good at multitasking and doing a bunch of things and taking care of a bunch of people at once. Um, well, take us back to your 40s. What was happening in your body, your energy, and your mindset before the 80-pound weight loss? And that's so significant.
Yeah, so at 30, I had my daughter. She's actually turning almost 19 this year, just turned 18. And at 35, I had my son. I th- had a normal childhood. I wasn't overweight. I wasn't obese. I didn't have a weight problem. I didn't have a pre-diabetic problem. You know, I had no reason to think that I would enter that phase. But then at 37, I was still wearing maternity clothes 2 years after having my son. I was really climbing towards the 200s, and it just, no matter what I did, I couldn't get control of it. I couldn't stop the weight gain. And I was on every possible diet you can imagine. I was working quite significant hours. I had my own business at that time, 40 employees, 40 consultants and contractors and offices all over the US. I was traveling all the time. There was no strength training. There was no such, I didn't know what the word gym meant back then. I thought it was in the dictionary under a big waste of time, and it just wasn't just wasn't my thing,
Wasn't on your horizon.
Oh no, I mean, it was. I would have been mortified probably to walk into a gym. The idea of it gave me anxiety, and yeah, no, that wasn't happening, right? And so at 37, I remember I was 210 pounds, most likely pre-diabetic. Um, Eventually, I found out I had 18, 19 ovarian cysts, so probably had PCOS going on, anxiety, probably depression. I don't know. I was drinking heavily. Um, it would start with one glass of wine and then it would escalate eventually over time to two, three vodkas on the rocks. Okay, so I'm Eastern European. We don't drink. We don't have mixers. That's right next to the gym in the dictionary. Okay, we have straight vodka on the rocks. I was having two, three of those, and yeah, so that was life. And one night I was on my nightly ice cream binge and I was reaching into the freezer for my Haagen-Dazs, which is, one pint is about 2,000 calories. I didn't know that back then because
I
calorie
remember that.
counting is
Wow.
next. Yeah, no, calories were next to the gym and the mixers in the dictionary. And so all of a sudden I started having these crazy anxiety, like a panic attack, but I thought it was a heart attack and severe chest pain. I'm holding onto my chest. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. I need to go to ER. I get there. They, instantly they ask you, right? What's wrong with you? I'm having chest pains. Immediately get rushed into the ICU. Eh, a day later, they're like, here's a Xanax. Go home. And yeah, I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Um, I'm not telling anybody because obviously I was out of work for 2 days and, I'm like, I'm not telling anybody I was on, just tell everybody I was on vacation because it was so mortifying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just swept it under the rug, ignored it completely. Didn't ring a bell. Like I didn't get the memo that, this is going to happen again, by the way.
Right.
And so it happened again a few months later. And then, again, same reaction. I was like, what the heck is this? I don't have time for this BS. Okay.
I don't have time
uh,
to listen to my body. No, I don't.
right. And so again, I thought it was a heart attack. And I was convinced that the first time they got it wrong, and that I was thinking to myself, man, I have heart disease and they missed it. They don't know what they're talking about. So I run back, same exact scenario. They did all the tests, they did everything. They even sent me to a cardiologist that did EKGs and all kinds of things. And they said, "Yeah, here's a Xanax, go home. And by the way, you're too fat. You really should consider losing weight." And I'll never forget that comment because I wasn't expecting it, right? So, it was one of the nurses who I guess thought I was so bewildered. But to her, I'm sure it was pretty obvious what was happening. Um, but it wasn't to me. And so she gave me that nugget. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Right. So if I don't take some type of action, I'm going to be seeing this nurse every few months because this
Yeah.
seems like it's cyclical. And so that's how the whole thing kind of woke me up.
Well, if you didn't if the gym wasn't for you, how did you, go from gym isn't in my horizon to wanting to do strength training? I mean, did you have some examples, hire a trainer? What was your connection to get in the gym?
So in the very beginning, I did not ask for help. And that was a mistake. I tried to figure it out on my own. I did end up losing 25, 30 pounds, but I yo yoed a lot. So there was a period of a few years where I yo yoed up and down, up and down, up and down. I knew nothing about nutrition. My idea of losing weight was just eating salads all day, no protein,
Mm.
just doing a ton of cardio, which is, this was 13 years ago. Okay. I was 37, 38, and that was what was out there, right? Strength training and going to the gym was for bodybuilders and for power lifters and for men. And so I didn't consider that, maybe I need to go lift weights. No, no, no. I did not want to look like a man. Okay. That was what was going on
Just
in
do
my
more
head.
cardio.
Right. And
Yeah.
it worked, right? So it worked up to a point and then I plateaued. And my biggest fear at that time was, oh my gosh, I finally got something happening. I finally did lose a little bit of weight because just getting to the 20, 30 pound weight loss from 210 down to 180 was a
Yeah.
struggle. It was a lot of trial and error there. And I thought to myself, there is no way in hell I'm going to gain this weight back because it was hell to get it off, right? And so finally, I put my ego down. I, you know, basically accepted the fact that I'm going to humiliate myself and be a complete beginner in something I despise, I didn't like, I didn't enjoy, I never wanted to do, and I asked for help. So I got very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. I was able to find a coach that specialized in bodybuilding, strength training, and women
Mm.
specifically. And I can't even explain to you the shock that I experienced when I got accepted to be coached by her because I was a complete noob. And when I tell you like a complete noob, I mean embarrassingly new, right? So she would give me a program and it would have abbreviations and it would say things like DB shoulder press. And
Mm.
I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, what the heck is a DB?
Yes.
I know what it means when you're referring, to someone in a derogative way, but I don't know what the heck, like, what is a DB? Dumbbell. Things like RDL with dumbbells. I'm like, RDL. Like, it was, and I used to joke around all the time. I'm like, it's like I need a PhD to
Well,
go to the gym.
I think it's interesting that you thought it was really a humiliating experience at first. I mean, do you think that it's because as a woman, you did mention like it was so hard for you to ask for help and to do something like ask for help in something you did not know, coming in and just saying, is that a challenge? Is that I don't know personally, how things show up for you like that to ask for help.
Yeah, like the humiliation aspect of it to me was the fact that we were going to be focusing on my body,
Mm.
right? And because everything that you do when it comes to dieting and working out and lifting weights, and, especially, for my age at that time, it wasn't really about blood work for me back then because I didn't really know at 37 and, 40, I wasn't really thinking there's something extreme happening other than I was obese. And there's a lot of in my mind, I made up the story that everything that I was going to do uh, in the gym while I'm lifting weights is going to be to stare at my own body, right? Because that's the impression that you have out
Sure.
there, bodybuilders staring at themselves in the mirror and
Taking
flexing.
pictures.
Right, right. And so to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's humiliating to me because I was overweight and I did not want that. Right. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to be measured and judged and, analyzed in that way because I was so uncomfortable. Right. And so to me, it felt humiliating because it was like, what do you mean? You want me to send you pictures of myself in a
Oh, right.
bikini? Like, no.
But there's some point where you just get tired, I think, of being sick and tired, and I can relate to that where you're like you're you're making a decision even though maybe you're not 100% in with it yet because it's that acceptance of where you're at, and like you said, having to have that a relationship with your body and to be treated well versus just kind of shoving it to the side or ignoring it. Like, yeah, get taking pictures of yourself is very personal and vulnerable to do. And then, like you said, share them with someone. But I know when I've looked at those pictures, because I'll get tired of doing a program or something, and then I'll go, oh, well, that's my why. If I look at those every week, that is a strong why for me. Yeah. And for you,
Exactly.
yeah, so how did the muscle part, what did she teach you? What did you learn about how critical it was to do the building piece, the muscle, the Venice Beach muscle building
That's right.
style?
Yeah. So through that process, right? So through going through what I perceived at that time, the humiliation, the vulnerability, the acceptance, the honesty, right? Because pictures don't lie. And just going through that experience in a prolonged period of time. So not just a month or two or three, but I've been doing this now uh, over 10 years. That experience itself taught me self love, self acceptance, to be proud of my body, not to judge it. And it taught me that no matter what I perceive in my own mind, there's a method to the madness, number one. Number two, it works and it works for everybody. And strength is actually even more important than just muscle, right? And so, what I discovered over the last 10 years is that at 50 years old, I am stronger in terms of how much weight I can move than I was at 25.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and it blows every limitation right out of my mind because when I first started, I think my top deadlift was like 160 pounds. That was what I could do. And in my 40s, and now entering my 50s and I'm doing 250-pound deadlift. So
Wow.
that it's that consistency, it's progressive overload, it's building muscle the right way, it's giving it your body enough time to adapt to the challenges that you're putting out and measuring your strength more really more than anything really that's the ultimate goal is to have full strength in your
Yeah.
entire body but at the same time, also really enjoying the process of the results that you're getting. And so, what I noticed a few years ago, I used to be really embarrassed of my big thighs. I had, decent amount of muscle in my quads. I always had that. And I always used to call them my thunder thighs. I always wanted to have really thin thighs because I grew up in the 90s and that was the trend. And then I realized, oh wow, in in the weightlifting and bodybuilding community, that's a like coveted thing. People want to have thighs that have muscles
Yes.
and they look thick, right? And I was like, what the heck? I spent decades hating on myself for something that if you're in the right place, they actually, they,
Yeah.
it's valued.
I love that. That's so just so perfect about our perception. And like you said, like if the perception is causing you to look at yourself a certain way, that you could potentially go in another community or space where it could be welcomed, you could love that part of yourself. And because hating on yourself should just, especially when you get to 50, like that's where we're like, I think we're done, because you look back at your body and then you go, wow, I thought I was fat and, I was looking my best. But there's a new way of loving your body, and you're definitely, just even the mental, um, ways that this gives you, right? The inspiration, I'm sure, like, it's such a mental game, I think. For me, going into the gym is more for my mental health first and my body second, because there's nothing else like lifting weights, that those endorphins, the energy that I get, like you said, the strength, I feel more powerful as a woman when I can do things like that. And, if muscle were a medicine, what symptoms of menopause do you think it would quietly treat?
Oh my gosh. The majority of them. And it doesn't even just apply to menopause or perimenopause. It applies to just about anything, right? It applies to any type of mental states that you're in, physical states, hormonal fluctuations. And I know this because I'm watching it in real time. So my youngest client is almost 19, my daughter, and she does the exact same training programs as my oldest clients do, who are in their 70s. So it's exactly the same program, exactly the same method, exactly the same structure and routine. But she just does it at the level that she's at, and another person will do it at the level that they're at. Right. And so it helps her with PMS,
Mm.
right? Sleep, mood, hormones, all of these things. And it helps us in our 50s with the exact same things, right? So you have
Mhm.
improved sleep, you have better appetite, right? So this is another big one that I notice in our age group, is that most of us, when they first start out with me, and I was the same way in my 40s, have no appetite. Right. So that's the
Mhm.
most common symptom that I see right off the bat of a decline, right? So there's a bodily decline that's taking place in our age group when we're not intentionally fueling and feeding properly. So very low appetite. Most women eat about 1 or 2 meals per day, very low calories, and they don't feel well. They don't have energy, a lot of mental fog, things like that, joint pain, right? Knee pain, back pain, all kinds of elbow, shoulder pain, all kinds of things, right? And
Yeah.
so I see all of that start to reverse. So in about month 3 or 4, uh, most of my clients, including the youngest one, reports the same
Mm.
benefits, the
Benefits.
same improvements.
What did you learn about nutrition that for yourself, and that you kind of teach because that was one of my questions, that was about under eating and how that impacts hormones, cortisol, insulin, estrogen. Just, what is kind of your teaching, or how do you share with women how to eat proper nutrition?
The number one rule is diets don't work. And a diet doesn't mean that you eat less, right? And so that I think we've been brainwashed, and this has been kind of instilled in our culture, that in order to lose weight, you have to starve yourself or you have to feel hungry all the time, which is completely not the case. And that's why nutritional literacy is a really important topic. I love to discuss that and start it as early as possible so that we're not left at the mercy of whatever we, randomly pick up here and there, or our mind deduces from the information that we receive. And so intentionally learning and having nutritional literacy as early as possible, with even with children, to explain how you eat well. And it doesn't mean exclude a bunch of foods. It doesn't mean stop eating bread, stop eating sweets, stop eating all these things, but understanding how they fit into your day,
Mhm.
and how to balance nutrition in a way that actually provides fuel for your body specifically. It's very individual as well. I think it's critical for us as a nation, or as humans everywhere, because every report I read out there, there's an obesity pandemic going on. And even countries that were formerly not obese are reporting have very high pre-diabetic results in their populations, even if they're not obese, right? So that means that our insulin sensitivity is, being regulated by whatever foods we're eating. So you don't necessarily have to manifest it out as obesity. In fact, I think the people that show, they're showing as presenting as obese are luckier than the people that are not presenting as obese, but
Mm.
also having insulin sensitivity, because it's harder to catch and you don't actually see it. And so I think it's critical at this point where we're at, in
Yeah,
this world, I think it's
yeah.
critical, right? And so what I've learned is that hunger doesn't have to be present when you're managing your food, right? And the reason why hunger is present, it could be genetic, it could be, a systemic issue, it could be, something else. So have that checked out. But for the general population, if you're eating proper fuel that your body actually needs for its functions, right? You shouldn't be constantly hungry. So what does that mean? The biggest mistake I see is women eating 60 grams of protein per day. So 60 grams of protein for a woman who is, let's say, 5'8", 150 pounds is one third of what her body actually needs for normal systemic functioning. So, heartbeat, breathing, digestion, hair growth, eye health, just normal things. That's not enough, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about protein, and it is nice that we're finally here and learning about it and how essential it is, like you said.
For everything, right? So your body uses, I saw this in a study recently. And of course, this is very bio individual. So the numbers I'm giving out are very generic, right? So every person is very different, and every person needs um, personal nutritional strategies, right, for their body. But this is a very general kind of number. Our bodies, in general, on average, use about 300 grams of protein per day. Some
Wow.
of the protein that's already in the body gets recycled, right? So let's say 150 grams of that protein gets recycled, but the rest of it we get from fuel. So if you're only replenishing 60 of that, you're at 110 grams of deficit, right?
Deficit,
And
wow.
so what the body ends up doing is it goes and it borrows resources from other systems. So it could potentially go into your adrenal, your sex hormones, any place from any place it could find resources. And if you do that long enough and it's systemic enough, we're not getting enough fuel and enough protein, enough carbs, enough fats, you start to see a manifested decline, right? So your hair starts falling out, your
Mm.
nails are a lot more brittle. Your bones become more brittle. You start losing muscle mass. You start having osteoporosis, sarcopenia. All these things they start presenting.
Pop up. Yeah.
Yes.
Like you said, from the outside, um, and some of it you might even think, which I did, I know I thought, "Oh, this is menopause hitting me," in a sense. I was, yeah, probably under all of those things I could check on, but I was working out doing CrossFit in a way, not extreme, but just weight training, but I wasn't caring for my body with all the nutrition part. So it definitely had hit me, the osteo, all those things. And yeah, so it's good to have, like you mentioned, information and knowledge. And now I love that all of these things for women are being talked about where we actually have resources where maybe at the time you did compared to now, women might feel a little more comfortable asking for help just because they're seeing other women do the same thing. And they say, if she can do it, I can do it too. Versus probably when you were starting out, you're like, I don't see any other women going in to do what I feel like is bodybuilding over here. What connection between muscle and confidence is has brought you at this stage doing what you do at a confidence level?
There is nothing better than having muscle on your frame. Um, it's so interesting because I look at progress photos of myself, let's say at 150 pounds 5 years ago and 150 pounds last year, let's say, and I'm the same exact weight. Okay. On the scale, I'm the same weight, but the body looks totally different. So the body that has more muscle mass is going to weigh more, but look more compact, right? And if you're doing a strategic bodybuilding slash weightlifting slash resistance training, however we want to call it, if it's strategic, meaning it applies the methods of progressive overload, meaning that your goal is to get stronger over time and challenge strategically, right? Particular muscle groups in a strategic way so that you could get the benefit of the look of it, right? But also get the benefit of strength versus someone who's 150 pounds and their body composition is less muscle mass, more body fat. Those two people are going to look very different, right?
Mhm.
And so, interestingly, like at 150 pounds, I will fit into a size 4. When at 150 pounds, let's say years ago, I was a size 12, 14,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Well,
And so
that right there should be motivation, ladies. I don't know. That sounds like motivation to me to be able to that muscle. It's not about the scale, which again we've also been taught. Watch the scale go down, and everything's fine. But that the scale could be a higher percentage. Maybe someone who wants to be 130 is 150 because of the muscle that you have, but yet again, you're fitting into a size of someone who is probably 130 because of the way your body has taken shape. And that is so, so, so cool. So we're gonna go through some last questions here and kind of little rapid fire. But for women listening who feel really exhausted, inflamed, and discouraged, you know, where should they start first? What's a good first starting point?
again, it depends, right? I answer everything. It depends, really depends on where you're at, right? It depends on where you've been the last, let's say, year. What did life look like? Did you have, family challenges, lifestyle challenges, career challenges? Where are you at adrenally, right? Um, how stressed do you feel? Because a lot of times starting something like a strength training program might feel even more overwhelming, or starting to look at your macros and your protein, carbs, and fat breakdown might feel even more overwhelming. Like, oh my God, I have to do more. Right. So it really depends on where you've been, what your history looks like. Have you been athletic before? And so, my first suggestion is to set better boundaries, emotionally, physically, in every possible way, mentally, and to bring the nervous system down from that escalation that it's at, because that burnout, that frustration, that overwhelm that you're feeling, that's your nervous system telling you it's at a max, right?
Yeah, and
And
working
so
out with that high cortisol is kind of counterintuitive, right? So I think
yes
that's
and
newer.
no.
Well, I think it's newer for women to hear what you're talking about. Typically, you would think women would say, get straight to the gym. But I think for me, I know it's newer to hear what you're saying is like really bring the nervous system down.
Yeah, for me, no matter what I did, I couldn't stick with it because my nervous system was so jacked, right? And so when you are that overwhelmed, overworked, burnt out, the last thing you're going to be able to do is sustain. You can white knuckle it, right? You can white knuckle it for a certain period of time, and then you're going to crash. And everything's going to go to shit, right? And that's
Mm,
what was happening to me. So I would white knuckle myself into something. I'd be okay for a couple months, and then big crash, fall off the wagon, binge eat. The whole emotional eating aspect came in, back to the alcohol, like the whole thing, because my nervous system was jacked, right? And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to heal that aspect, right? And so took a lot of trial and error. But when you're in that place, and really, really be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what is going on in my life right now that I maybe need to remove? Maybe I need to say no. Maybe I need more air to breathe. Maybe I need more quiet time. Maybe I can do a few meditations or yoga or go outside in nature and walk, right? Just to bring the nervous system back to rest and digest, right? That in turn is going to help your lymphatic system move easier and better. You're just going to feel lighter, right?
yeah.
And once you have that space, things move so much easier, right? You can go to the gym consistently. You have the mental space to figure out your nutrition. You have more energy because it's not being spent on, constant mental load that your nervous system is cycling through. You just overall feel more, you just feel better. So that would be my first place, is
Right.
really be honest, truly radically honest with yourself, and ask yourself, why are you so overwhelmed and burned out? What is it that is happening? What is going on? What are you doing? What are other people doing? Because sometimes it's other people. Okay. Sometimes it's not you, truly. I know we always like to blame ourselves and say, oh, it's all me, blah, blah, blah.
Our environment and
Right. Exactly.
yeah,
And, what can you do
to
to
calm it
either
down.
insulate yourself or remove yourself from that?
Yeah. Boundaries are good. Boundaries are good for sure. And what's something about aging that actually has given you power?
There's more clarity as we get older. uh, our feet are more firmly rooted to our true identity. And we've done so many, I mean, I have done so many stupid things that I now know, like, no, that's not, you did this already. Okay. You try that didn't work for you. Stick with what works for you. And because when I was younger, it was like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do that. No.
Wisdom, the wisdom that comes with age, right? It's like it's so refreshing because you're like, ah, like you said, a lot of trial and error, a lot of I can do this. Our bodies, our minds have a different capacity where now we're like kind of think it through. Do I need to do that? Maybe not. So oh my gosh, Terry. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. This conversation is a powerful reminder that strength, muscle, and nourishment matter at every stage of life. Whether you're facing burnout, struggling with your health, or simply looking for inspiration, you can find Terry at www.houseofrose.com, or her Instagram profile is How Good Can It Get? How.good.can.it.get. And we'll have that in the show notes where you can find cookbook recipes, mocktails, one-on-one macro nutrition consultation, and her lovely retreats and more. Is there anything upcoming that you want to share with people or how best to reach out to you if they would like to?
Yes. So I'm actually launching a customized macro calculator. And for anybody that doesn't know what a macro is, it is figuring out what your protein, carbs, and fat should be based on your individual body weight, height, and your metrics, right? Your age, your gender, all of those things. And it's launching this week. I'm super excited about it because it gives you, and it's free, and it gives you a full breakdown of how much to eat per day based on where you're at, how much per meal. It gives you meal ideas, all customized. It gives you food ideas. It gives you the hydration
Wow.
guidelines that I teach my clients, and so much more. And you could click a button, download it, print it out, save it. So that is, I've been working on it for months. It's launching this week. Super excited about that. So check it out and let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, shoot me over an email. I think my contact info is on the macro calculator. And
Okay.
so, yeah,
Is that
take
at
it
your
for a spin.
website? Is that available
Yes.
on your website? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's so exciting. Congrats on that. And if there's one takeaway today, it is that muscle is not about appearance, it's about resilience. And as we wrap up today, here's what I hope that you take with you in midlife is strength is built, not lost, and it's built through nourishment, through resistance, through choosing to work with your body instead of fighting it. Terry's story reminds us that change doesn't require perfection, it requires commitment, curiosity, and the courage to try something different when the old ways stop serving you. If this episode sparked a new way of thinking about your body, your hormones, or what's possible in this season, be sure to like, subscribe, or follow so you don't miss what's next. New episodes drop every Monday, and you can also watch this conversation on YouTube. And if someone you love is navigating midlife and wondering if it's too late to feel strong again, share this episode with them. Send them some love. Sometimes the right story arrives at the right time. I'm Suzanne, your host, your midlife wingwoman. This is Men, Menopause, and Miracles. Until next time, see you then. Have a great day.